All right, let's talk about the technical interview. For a lot of us, it's one of the most stressful parts of landing a job in tech. But what if we've been looking at it all wrong? What if it's not some crazy test, but actually a huge opportunity that we just haven't understood? Until now.
So, you gotta forget this idea of an interrogation room. A modern technical interview, it's really a showcase. It is your stage. It's your chance to show them not just the answers you've memorized, but how you actually think, how you tackle a problem you've never seen before, and yeah, how you collaborate. It's a performance of your craft.
So, if you're ready to flip the script and walk into your next interview feeling like you're in control, then you are in exactly the right place. We're about to break down the entire playbook to get you there. Okay, first things first, we have to understand the battlefield. This arena can look a few different ways, and honestly, just knowing what you're walking into is half the battle won right there. So let's peek behind the curtain. You might get a live coding challenge, a really high-level system design question, or maybe a take-home project. But you know what? It doesn't really matter what the format is. The goal is always the same. They're trying to simulate what it's actually like to work with you day to day. They want to see your brain working in real time. And now, for what might be the biggest secret of all. This is the part that changes everything. See, succeeding in these interviews, it's not really about getting the perfect answer. Nope, it's all about how you get to that answer. Just look at this breakdown. This is based on real rubrics from top tech companies. Your communication skills and your problem-solving process, together, that's way over half of your score. The actual correctness of your code, it's only about a quarter of the whole picture. I mean, letting that sink in is a total game changer. And this quote right here just nails it. The person sitting across from you, they're not just some judge, they're a potential teammate. And they're asking themselves, what would it be like to be stuck on a hard problem with this person at 5 p.m. on a Friday? Do they communicate well? Are they logical? That's the real test. So, knowing what they're actually looking for, how in the world do we prepare for that? Well, this is where we build your playbook. Think of this as your training montage. It's not about grinding for hours on end. It's about smart, focused training that builds real skill and, just as important, real confidence. We can boil this down into 3 pretty straightforward steps. First, we make sure the fundamentals are rock solid. Then, we practice, but with a real strategy. And finally, we simulate the real thing over and over so that when the pressure's on, we've got the muscle memory to perform. Strengthening your fundamentals means you truly know your data structures and algorithms, but it also means you can talk about them. You have to be fluent in the language of efficiency, and that's big O notation. You need to be able to clearly explain why one approach is better than another in terms of time or space. And about that strategic practice, focus on the patterns, not the problems. Seriously. Instead of trying to memorize solutions to hundreds of random questions, get really good at spotting the underlying patterns, like the 2-pointer trick for arrays, or knowing when to use breadth for search on a graph. Recognizing the pattern is what unlocks the solution. All right, you've trained, you're prepared, you know the rules of the game. Now it's showtime. Let's walk through your tactical guide for what to do when you're actually in the arena, live. This is so important. The problem appears, your heart starts pounding, and your first instinct is to just start typing like a maniac. You have to fight that urge. The most powerful thing you can do in that first minute is to stop, take a breath, and just think. And you use that pause to ask clarifying questions. Start probing the edge cases, asking things like, okay, so for this string problem, are uppercase and lowercase letters the same? Or what should happen if the input is empty? This does 2 amazing things at once. It makes sure you're solving the right problem, and it immediately shows the interviewer that you're careful and thoughtful. So before you write a single line of code, you talk through your plan. First, say the problem back to them in your own words, just to make sure you're on the same page. Then maybe mention a simple brute force way to solve it, and then you present your better, more optimal solution, and you talk about the trade-offs. This gets the interviewer nodding along before you've even started coding. And once you do start coding, you have to narrate everything. I mean, everything. Okay, I'm using a hash map here because I need that super fast O of 1 lookup. Or I'm going to write a little helper function here to keep my main logic clean. Remember, if you're silent, they have no idea what's going on. Your voice is the window into your thought process. And what if you get stuck? Because let's be real, it can happen. This is the moment that separates the good candidates from the great ones. Don't just sit there in a silent panic. Tell them what's tricky. Talk about the different ideas you're juggling in your head. Getting stuck is not a sign of failure. It's a chance to show them how you deal with a real challenge. And if they give you a hint, that's not a penalty. It's a test of how well you collaborate. Okay, the code is on the screen. Phew, but you're not done. Great candidates always check their work. Walk them through a simple example to show it works. Then, test it against an edge case, like an empty array or a null value. And for the grand finale, you confidently state the time and space complexity. It's a professional finish. The performance is over, you can finally relax. But the whole process isn't quite finished just because you've left the meeting. What you do after the interview is a huge part of your long-term growth. The journey always continues. Every single interview, whether it ends in an offer or not, is a gold mine of data. First, send a thank you note. Then, as soon as you can, write down every question you can remember. Think about what went great, and more importantly, figure out what gaps in your knowledge this interview just exposed. Every single experience makes you stronger for the next one. So let's end on this thought. A technical interview isn't the final exam. It's just a milestone on a much longer journey of learning and growing. So whether you get the job or not, the real question is, what did you learn today, and how is it going to help you become an even better engineer tomorrow?